What's up, guys? Welcome to episode 1 of Ghosts Aren't Real, a podcast where we dive into the paranormal and discuss our thoughts about it and our experiences with it.
Tonight, we're going to be talking about the Sallie House.
So we first heard about the Sallie House from the paranormal investigators on YouTube, Sam and Colby.
Speak
right?
for yourself.
Did you hear about it before that?
No, that's
okay. Me neither. So that's why I said it. We first stumbled upon Sam and Colby.
Speak for yourself.
You stumbled upon Sam and Colby, and you're like, "Bro, Levi, I got this video to show you." You said it just like that.
Was it that was the first Conjuring one?
It was the Conjuring one.
Did, yeah.
And that was in July of 2021 when they released it.
Dude, the scariest thing about that video was when, what was the owner's name?
Corey and what's her name?
His wife?
Yeah.
I don't remember her name. I just remember the scariest thing in that video was when Corey was talking about when you feel like somebody's watching you or something like that.
Oh, yeah. That's like your medieval sense or whatever.
I was like, oh, I get that feeling all the time. That's
right.
So scary. Anyway, that freaked me out the most about that. Anyway, sorry.
And I think we can easily attribute with an A. We can easily attribute our like kick into this from Sam and Colby. Like,
oh yeah,
our interest in their channel basically started all this. Like, we both, watched our fair share of like ghost adventures growing up. But discovering Sam and Colby's YouTube channel really like kind of pushed us into this. And we're like, man, that would be really cool if we could, if we started to do this type of stuff. So yeah, you found their Conjuring House video in July. And we actually, oh my gosh.
I should have done this before, and I'm so
I hope
sorry.
people are watching this, not listening to it, and just hearing the sound of water.
That was a crack of a key lime LaCroix.
Not a sponsor. But it's cool because we found their YouTube channel in July of 2021. We filmed our first video in November of 2021.
Really?
And then Sam and Colby they released their Sallie House video in December of 2021. So we had like just started right before they released their video. And I don't know how long before they released it they filmed it. Probably 2 months, maybe.
Months, yeah, for sure.
So that's how we first heard about the Sallie House was through Sam and Colby. And then I don't really know how or like what started our interest into going there. I think one of us was just like, man, it'd be so cool if we went there.
I think you are the one that actually like researched into it, because I remember you texting me and being like, hey, it's only like 3 something to go there.
Yeah, like barely over 3 hours.
And we decided to pick a date and just like did it.
And really, like, I'm still kind of shocked like how close it is, because Kansas City's not that bad of a drive from Springfield. It's like 220, 230.
Yeah.
So to like North Kansas City, it's like 240. And then Atchison is just like maybe half an hour away from North Kansas City.
Yeah. I think it was not weird, just to see something that was so famous, so close to that, like we had access to. That was weird, but cool at the same time.
And like Sam and Colby talked about in their Sallie House video that like they heard about the Sallie House all the time growing up because they grew up in the KCK.
Yeah.
And I grew up in Kansas City, but I had never once heard of the Sallie House or even Atchison, Kansas for that matter. Which, obviously I grew up with a very like conservative and I guess sheltered household. So like haunted houses, like legitimately haunted houses, weren't exactly a common conversation that I had with anybody growing up. So of course I wouldn't know about the Sallie House.
So we saw it in Sam and Colby's video, and we decided to go.
We booked it probably like February.
It wasn't it for like the end of April?
Yeah, April 30th. I remember that date.
I only remember because of the
very well.
I only remember because of the "It's gonna be May" meme. It's gonna be May. Okay.
What about that meme?
Well, that night it was like it's gonna be May.
Oh yeah, because it was May. Yeah, the Saturday was May 1st.
We were going into May. Yeah. Sorry.
And kind of the craziest part about this for me, at least, was like, so in like January, February, we made the decision to go to the Sallie House. We booked it, paid for it, paid a lot of money. We'd already filmed our first paranormal investigating video. We hadn't released it yet, but we filmed it. Well, we'd filmed 2 of them because in December we went to the Weaver House.
Went to the Weaver House where nothing happened.
Spent a few hours there.
It's insane.
So we'd essentially filmed 2 videos, very much still rookies. We're still rookies. We have a ways to go before we can be anything but a rookie.
Literally the exact same, honestly.
The craziest part about it for me, though, was like the start of this hobby. We like got super invested in it. We had already like financially invested into this hobby, and I was just finishing up school and just about to start my like first full-time job. Essentially, I was like, man, this is great. I found out what I want to do, all this stuff. And all of a sudden I ran into at church, Sam and Colby's best friend, Nate, out of nowhere. Ran into him at church. And I was like, what are the chances that of like all times and all places, I just like sort of like figured out my life, I guess. I guess because like I kind of had a weird roundabout way of going through my, I guess, college years. And then we just discovered this hobby and made the commitment to go to the Sallie House. And then I ran into Sam and Colby's best friend, Nate, who went with them to the Sallie House and filmed at the Sallie House with them. And I ran into him and I was like, what in the world? So I went up and talked to him. I introduced myself. I was like, hey, I'm a super big fan of you guys. My friend and I are actually going to the Sallie House in April. And he was so nice, dude. He was like, I wish you could have been there to see his reaction. Because I introduced myself. I was like, hey, my name's Levi. Sorry to bug you, but I just want to say I've seen you in Sam and Colby's videos and I'm a huge fan. And he was like, dude. And he like gave me a hug. And I was like, oh my gosh, I've never met this guy in my life. And out of nowhere, he's just like super excited. He's like, dude. And then gives me a hug. And then we just start talking about that stuff. Like out of nowhere, just like the friendliest guy, the friendliest conversation I could have ever had with a stranger, essentially. So freaking cool.
Nate, when I met him, he was an absolute stand-up guy. That's the most accurate statement I can make about him. Is just like makes you feel like you're just a normal, laid-back human being. There's really no better way to explain it. And that phone call when you called me after you met him, I was like, what's this? What are you calling me for, dude? I'm doing laundry. And you're like, you'll never guess what happened. I don't even know what was going through my head. I was like,
you were so disinterested in that phone call. I was shaking, like, because I stood over in like behind him at church for a really long time because he was talking to somebody else. So like I left Jessica and I was like, hey, I got to go talk to this guy. And she had no idea. Like I was like the entire time during service, I was like looking over at him and I was like, I don't know if that's him or not or whatever. She was like, what are you doing? I'm like, don't worry about it. So I went over to go talk to him. And I was there for probably like 15 minutes before I actually talked to him. And Jessica's just standing over there. And she's like, what are you doing? And I'm like, I text her. I was like, hey, I got to talk to this guy, get a ride home with Carter and Leah, and they'll be fine. I just need to talk to this guy. Where was I going with that? Oh, yeah. But I was like shaking the entire time. And as soon as he introduced himself as Nate to somebody else that he was talking to, I was like, oh my gosh, it's actually him. So I was like shaking. I was so excited. I called you. I was like, man, you are never going to guess who I just talked to. And you were just like, yeah, what, what, no, who? And like, I don't even remember. You guessed somebody. I don't remember who it was.
Oh, who did I guess? I guessed
Seth, maybe Seth Borden from Seth Borden.
Did
his own YouTube channel.
I don't know.
I feel like you guessed Seth.
Did I? Maybe as a joke I did, but I thought maybe I guessed like some old person, I think, at first.
Oh, that's funny.
I don't remember.
Court. I don't think it was, but that, anyways. Yeah, like you were just so disinterested, and then yeah, we talked about it, and then I think I came over here the next day because I was still like flipping out. I was like,
yeah,
not that like himself is like this like crazy big deal, But just the fact that like all this was lining up before we
Yeah.
went to the Sallie House, like, man, this is so crazy.
Yeah, the fact that you ran into him just a little after we decided to go to this place, and like he was a part of us finding out about this place, and then you running into him when we're about to go to this place. It was just a weird, you could say coincidence or whatever you want to call it. Yeah.
And he immediately offered, like as soon as I said that you and I were going to the Sallie House in a couple months, he immediately offered and was like, hey, if you want, you can call me while you guys are there. We can do a little FaceTime interview. I could be in your guys' video. Like he just offered that up out of nowhere.
Yeah.
I was like, dude, that was so cool.
Stand-up guy.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
So we ended up meeting with him, obviously, like early April, I guess, mid-April.
Yeah, something like that. Well, for the second, was that the first time? Or the
that's right,
second
because we
time?
met him, and then just to talk about like what we were doing and how the interview would look like. And then we actually the week prior to going to Atchison, we went over to his place and like filmed the interview that we have in the video,
which is blooper free.
Absolutely. But just like the fact that we were able to have an interview with somebody who's been there, in a very highly viewed YouTube video of easily a top 5 haunted house in America, really was like not that I needed confirmation, but it was like the confirmation of like, okay, this is going to be real. This is going to be cool. Even if nobody watches this is like legitimate what you guys are doing,
Yeah. And I think we might have talked with Nate a little bit about it, but like we just talked a little bit about the history of the house with him. And like I think we mentioned the book. I don't know if he knew much about the book, but I think that warrants us to talk about the book some.
Yes.
Because we mentioned it a little bit in the video, but that's where all of our thoughts about the Sallie House like come from. Like we've seen videos, like we watched Sam and Colby's. I watched, did Amy's Crypt go there?
I feel like they did.
They did, yes. And then I saw like a few other videos of people.
BuzzFeed Unsolved went there twice.
BuzzFeed went there. I think I clicked off their videos really fast because I wasn't interested.
There really wasn't, I mean, not that we had anything to do with this, but like before we released our video, there really wasn't that many videos of the Sallie House.
Yeah, a lot kind of surfaced at one time.
Right.
Which could be because...
It could be, obviously because of Sam and Colby.
It was
like if they released their
like,
video
their
in
attention,
December and people were like starting to watch it in the spring and scheduling trips. I mean, yeah.
And so like people mentioned the Sallie House haunting book. But from what I saw, most of the videos were just like about Sallie, which I still believe, and I guess we can dive into this some later, it doesn't exist. Sallie is not some little girl ghost that's there. And people also do talk about it being demonic, but they kind of play with both.
The both of them, yeah.
Both ideas. And like strictly based off of this book, demonic. Because what happened to Tony, how manipulative I believe it was to Deborah, and I guess like trying to also hurt Taylor. That was the kid. I don't remember. I think it's Taylor.
And really, I think the book really worked in our favor because, I mean, if you guys know us at all, or if you watched a little bit of some of the videos, we've mentioned a couple times that we are extremely skeptical of this stuff. Even still now, after having been to a couple extra places, I mean, we've been to what? We've done 6 investigations.
Give or take 6.
Still very much amateurs at this. But like before then and after then, we're still very, very skeptical of this stuff. So when we're talking about like ghosts and spirits, it's hard, I think, for us to still be like, affirmed in that, be like, okay, this is actually a ghost. This is actually a spirit. This is actually like this little girl that manifests herself. So after hearing all these stories, and I mentioned this in the video, it's like those stories are just stories, But like,
and I go, dude, yes.
But like the book is an accounting of a family that lived in the Sallie House for what, like 18 months, 16 months, something like that. 22 months. I think I did that last time I talked about it too. But like they were there for it, like people have gone there and they've gone investigating there and they were there for, 2 days max, a week max. These people lived there and like we're experiencing this stuff every single day. So like listening, reading their accounts from it was a lot more legitimate. It was easier to draw like solid conclusions from that stuff because they lived through it. They weren't just like visiting or investigating, trying to get something out of the house. These people lived through it, didn't like it, but got it anyway. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. And I think part of that also made this like going to the house, like we'd seen videos before, so we knew what it was going to look like, but also like going there, and then they've got like little signs throughout kind of explaining some stuff from the book. But like seeing the railing that he was pushed over, like in person, and like actually knowing like that was one of the final straws, and like reading about it and the events leading up to it, and like why that would have been the final straw, like seeing it, like it, I felt like I was not being like weird about it, but I felt like a deeper connection with the place because of reading the book. And like, I think of one of the saddest things, this is a bit of a spoiler, but was whenever he was loading up the laundry and then went to like vacuum, and the vacuum kept stopping and there was a kitten in the dryer. Like I assume that the washer and dryer were in the kitchen. Wasn't there a spot in the kitchen for that? No.
Yeah.
Yes, there was. Like that was the kitchen. That was the kitchen where he turned around from the refrigerator and saw Sallie, and like being in that kitchen and like looking like not into it from where you were, if that makes any sense. And then turning around and knowing that somebody else was in that kitchen, turned around and saw this little girl thing. And like, I was in the same sort of spot. Like it just made it more real. And I think reading the book was a good thing, but also maybe not bad. But it played into the investigation, which could be a bad thing.
It definitely changed, not necessarily, well, maybe my outlook, but my attitude for sure going into the investigation, because we reread it maybe like a month. We both finished it like maybe a month prior. Or
we both
like
finished.
And like we had, not to speak for you, okay, not to speak for you, but like we both had our thoughts about the house going into it. We did research. We watched other videos. We've read accounts. Like, okay, this is gonna be really cool. All this crazy stuff has happened. Then we read the book and we were like, holy crap.
Yeah.
Like that was such an eye-opening moment for me of like, okay, this place is actually demonic. We're actually going to be going there. We're actually going to be in the house that all these other people have gone to and all this other stuff. Like that was very eye-opening for me. But I can definitely relate to your feelings as well, because like whenever you like research a place before you go to it, like if your family is going on vacation, at least my family is like, okay, we're going on vacation to here, so we're going to go see this, this, and this, and we like look at pictures and all this stuff, and like you see the pictures, but then when you're actually there, you're like, oh my gosh, this is what I saw the pictures about. This is what I researched about. This is what I was, looking into, all that stuff. Like actually being there is so different. What's up, Carmichael?
The cat.
Well said.
Please don't hit the tripod. Oh man.
That's a good stretch.
It is a good stretch.
Close one.
Yeah, I think reading the book was a good thing, and it made going there like very real. I think that leads into a good topic of, we kind of touched on it a bit, but maybe a little deeper. Like, how did you feel going into the trip? Like, not on the trip, but like the weeks leading up to it, like just what like thoughts you had, feelings, that kind of thing.
I mean, it was a large range because it was excitement. It was like, okay, we're doing like, I mean, we went to 2 places prior, but this was a trip. This was a big deal. This is a place that a lot of people know. We're investing a lot of money into this, so like we got to make this good. So it was a lot of nervousness, but it was a lot of excitement, and I think I was just excited. Like the emotions that I felt from reading the book died down a little bit, like in between finishing the book and going up to Atchison. Honestly, I really think I was excited more than anything else. I wasn't letting myself dwell on the fact of like, okay, we're going to be alone in a demonic house. I was just like, hey, this is gonna be so cool. And even still then, the emotions from being like hyped up about something died down, and the rational side of me went back in, and I was like, this is just a house. Ghosts aren't real. Demons are obviously real, but like, this is just a house. You know, inanimate objects can't hurt us. There's not things in this realm that's in between the air and you and I, you know, like the rational side of me. Every single time we've gone to someplace, we have that moment where we're freaking out and like we're thinking about it and we're like making all these logical conclusions, and then that excitement dies down and I look back on it and I'm like, none of this stuff is real. There's not an inner dimension between reality and the heavens. You know what I mean? What was your question?
It just how did you feel going?
How
did
I feel going? Yeah. I honestly think I was just excited going to it. I was like, this is gonna be so much fun. We're gonna film a video that maybe 10 people are gonna see. I was just pumped.
Or 2,000.
Or 2,000.
Pretty cool.
Which is awesome.
I can relate to the excitement. I think the moment I remember most leading up to it, I think we talked about it, but we were both, at least I think maybe I brought it up, but I was like, hey, like maybe my biggest fear is that like, hey, we could like see a little girl in this house.
Yeah.
And like, I think that was both a thought that we had both had. And that was like the only thing leading up to it that like really, I guess you could say messed with me, but I was in the same boat of just like being excited. Like, okay, we're actually doing this. It's not just like some people we know that are letting us like investigate a place. Like this is an actual place. Yeah, for free. This is a place that we're going to it's the real deal. And so, yeah, I was for sure excited.
Think, to interrupt super quickly, like, again, not to speak for you, but like the part of the book that stood out the most probably to us was when Tony described how he closed the refrigerator door and saw Sallie.
Yeah, like that's a turning point, I think. Yeah, because...
So like, yeah, reading that and being like, oh my gosh, what if we turn around and just see a little girl
like top of the stairs, bottom of the stairs, by us. Yeah.
Like that was definitely my biggest thought leading into it. You know what I mean? So yeah.
And I think, sorry about hitting this microphone. Bink. I'm just looking at these little notes here. And this was like, whenever I was making this little thing, this was like a last minute thing too. But I remember I called you after running sound, I think maybe at church one Sunday.
Yeah.
And I was like, dude, I'm going to ask it to scratch me. I was just feeling ballsy. I was like, I mean, I was at church, so I was like super like straightforward mindset on Jesus. So I was like, I'll ask you to scratch me. Nothing's going to happen. And then obviously that didn't happen because I think once we got there, obviously things took place. But like the excitement, the little bit of fear, but then also like the nerve that like the maybe the ego I had going into it. It's still not the word I'm thinking of, but just like how far I was going to be willing to like open up, I guess, I think was another thing that stood out to me pre-trip. I'm really glad I didn't do that.
What about trip? Like, what about the drive up Friday?
To the hotel?
Yeah.
I loved the conversations we had about just like demons, like about ghosts and that kind of thing, because obviously that's what we're going to go investigate. That's what I remember most. I think my emotions were still the same, like excitement, and I think the fear was kind of gone. I think there were like little moments where I was like, oh my gosh, we're doing this.
On Friday, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then, like getting to the hotel, we went and had some Wendy's. Oh boy.
Wendy's came in clutch.
It was a lot.
We went to Walmart when we got to the hotel.
Oh my gosh. The Pringles.
Bought like 4 canisters of Pringles, bought fruit roll-ups and Twinkies.
I think I got Twinkies. I might have left those in the hotel room.
You did.
Because
I got mad at you because you left the Twinkies.
They left...
Cracker Barrel.
There was
leftover Cracker Barrel in our fridge in the hotel we stayed at in North Kansas City. It was I mean, it wasn't cheap. Hotels aren't cheap, but it was the
It was cheaper.
of the options. And like the floor wasn't even. There was like a 2-inch gap under our door in the carpet, and there's freaking leftover Cracker Barrel in our stupid hotel fridge.
I think we had a good time in the hotel room.
Oh yeah, because we weren't letting ourselves think about it.
Yeah, we were trying to.
It was
relax.
like we were just having fun. We were relaxing.
We did have the REM pod on.
We did have the REM pod on
because we wanted to test it out. I don't remember. I
don't remember either.
I don't think it went off. I think it might have gone off like a little calibration thing.
When we turned it on.
Was it on the third setting? Because we know the third setting's a little weird.
Yeah, because we had it on the third setting at Nearly Famous. What setting did we have it on at the Weaver House? I think it was on 5.
It was on 5 or 1.
It was. It was on 5 because it never went off. Because it was on 3 at Nearly Famous, and then we messed around with it after that. Then we put it on 5 at the Weaver House. Never did anything like that. And then we put it on, I can't remember, we put it on 3 or 5 in the hotel room.
I think it was 3. We might have done 3 and then tried 5. I think we tested some different things out. REM pod's weird. And it's hard to trust, honestly.
I can definitely relate because the Friday was just fun. And it was not that I wasn't letting myself think about it, but like we were distracting ourselves, maybe not intentionally. I mean, we're just chilling, you know. We were talking about ghosts and demons and stuff, which I can't wait to have a podcast on. A podcast. We're gonna have like 5 of them probably.
Guests
talking about our opinions and having educated and esteemed. I already said educated people to talk about their thoughts on ghosts and demons. Yeah, Friday was dope. Saturday is when it hit me.
Yeah.
Like, I think the goal, at least in my mind, the goal was to get up there early Friday, be able to chill, sleep in Saturday because we had the Sallie House from something like 3:00 in the afternoon Friday to noon on Saturday the next day.
That was it, yeah.
So I was like, wow. So we're like, I didn't want to get up there that day. I wanted to get up there the night before, obviously, and sleep in. But we woke up at like 7 on Saturday morning.
Excited.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, like when we left the hotel, that's when it was starting to hit me. And it was like overcast that day, and it was windy.
Yep.
It wasn't really. It was kind of cold. It was like 50s, 60s. It wasn't cold, but it was, it was overcast and just like.
It was perfect.
It was awesome.
Honestly, it was beautiful.
It was fantastic weather, but weather to put you in a mood to spend a night talking to literally Lord knows what.
Yeah.
To put me in the mood. I even made it a point to like, I had a lot of food Saturday morning. We stopped at Dunkin'. I got a sandwich, hash browns, and like a chocolate croissant.
Those hash browns were
horrible.
Dirt.
Like scraped up off of the floor of the kitchen hash browns.
I
got a chocolate croissant, and then they gave me another chocolate croissant because they forgot that they gave me the first one already. Because they gave me a cold one, and then they took another one, heated it up, and gave me the other one. So I had that, had a big coffee. That Dunkin' was just disgusting in general.
It was so gross.
People were talking about like peeing on the floor and stuff.
Don't go to that. I don't
Every single table, there was nobody in there, but every single table was dirty. Dunkin' off of Berry Road in North Kansas City. Don't do it. I had a lot of food. And discovered that I get the biggest nervous stomach in the history of nervous stomachs. My tummy was a rumbling the whole day. You can hear it in the video at points. And from getting to the Sallie, I didn't go at oh crap, what's the pub?
Willie's
Pub.
But
from 3 p.m. to like 3:30 or 4, it was like 4 when we left, 4 a.m. I pooped 4 times. I pooped almost equivalent to once every 3 hours at the Sallie House.
There could be periods of 4 days where I haven't pooped 4 times.
100%.
And you
absolutely
pooped 4 times in
once in the upstairs bathroom and 3 times in the downstairs bathroom.
12 hours.
I get the craziest nervous stomach, and it's happened everywhere else we've gone to since then. Mm-hmm. All the 2 places, but it's happened there. I didn't like poop at those places, but like my stomach was just like so crazy. So yeah, the nervousness. I wouldn't call it fear yet. like early Saturday, approaching the house Saturday. It was still like excitement,
I think
but
like
it was nervous.
it moved from like
hardcore.
excitement to like eager anticipation. Okay, dude. I can smell it right now. I can smell the house. How did you feel like walking into the house for the first time? Like we mentioned a little bit, but like,
Yeah,
let's go.
I mean, it really is just like what's a good example?
Stuffy. The air is stagnant.
This is the only good example I have for this. Fenway Park in Boston. I was gonna say New England. That's suspicious. That's specific. Fenway Park, Boston Red Sox. Green Monster, one of the like second oldest stadium in the history of Major League Baseball. I've seen like games and stuff there, and like Fenway, like that's been in a bunch of movies. Red Sox won a bunch of World Series in the last 20 years. But when I got there for the first time and saw the Green Monster, I was like, man, I have seen this place like on TV so many times that I'm actually here. I'm actually staring at the Green Monster. And I was like, but am I? No, like I'm actually like, I'm here. That's the Green Monster. This is Fenway Park. It's crazy. That was that moment where like I walked into the house and I was like, this is the Sallie House. But then I was like, nah, there's no way. This isn't the Sallie House. And then it like set in and I was like, okay, this is like actually the Sallie House. That probably makes zero sense.
I understand it because I was there with you.
There's not a good way to describe it. The only way you can describe it is like we were saying earlier, where like you research a place and you know about a place and you see pictures of it, and then you're actually there and you're like, oh, that's cool. I've seen this before. Like, and this is I'm actually here. It's just like places like that. This gets a little dangerous, but places like that have such a different energy where like it hits you as soon as you walk in. It's like it's buzzing isn't the right word, but like it's buzzing, dude. There's a different energy when you walk into those kinds of places.
It hits a little different.
It hits different.
I hate that phrase.
I'm not going to be able to come up with words to describe it. It's crazy.
It's hard to explain. You walk in, there's that spooky doll, like in the carrier, like the baby
and the
thing.
smell hits you immediately
the
too.
Smell.
Thankfully I don't
so
remember the
weird.
smell. I remember talking about it. I remember smelling it. I remember that smell being in my nose for maybe like a month after. But thankfully, I don't remember that. If I
can still smell it.
Dude, if I'm getting chills talking about this. If I'm just like at work and I will recognize it immediately. I'm gonna freaking mess my pants, dude, because you know it. You can't describe it.
Yeah.
You can't smell it right now. Oh, look, he's so cute. Aww. You can't describe it and you can't smell it right now, but like if you smelled it, you would know it immediately.
If I smelt the smell of the Sallie House, I would be very scared. Because nothing else, I've never smelt anything like that before. I smelt similar sort of like stuffy airs, but like that house had a different smell to it. Could be black mold.
Oh no, well yeah, it could be because the Beatty Mansion was asbestos.
Yeah.
So now we know what asbestos smells like.
Yeah, we do. And what it does to you.
Tastes like.
and
how it feels in your lungs.
Now
I can't stop thinking about just like smelling that out of nowhere. Getting freaked out.
We're not going to smell it. Maybe we will. I don't know.
Illogical. There's no shot.
I agree with just like the emotions of walking into the first time. It felt surreal. And then it wasn't like an out of it right now. It feels like it is because I'm thinking back on it. But opening that basement door for the first time, I looking down there, I fully expected just to like see some eyes or like something. It was obviously colder down there and the air like blew up. But yeah, that opening the basement door was like the peak of like what's going on. And then it was like, I was like back. But yeah, going in there for the first time and like just seeing that place was.
Why'd you open the basement door?
Wanted to look. I wanted to see what was down there. But I can't. I've grown into wanting to like push myself a little bit. I want to be safe with it, but I definitely it's probably a good thing I didn't, but I definitely wanted, and now I want to go into the basement. I don't really want to do anything down there, but I want to say like, oh, like I went down there. It's weird to think like, it's not like some different part of the world is going to necessarily like I don't know. That's a deep-ended thought that I don't know if I can explain it well. I don't think going to the basement would have like necessarily like done anything. But I mean, there was a sign that said nobody beyond this point. So I was being respectful of the city of Atchison and just agreeing not to do that, even though we did exercise the house.
Yeah. It was definitely an easy out though, that sign.
It was.
Because like
it was like a breath of fresh air, like, okay, sweet.
What? Yeah, because like we were looking for any sort of reason to not go downstairs. And like literally every single person that has filmed, well, not literally, all the videos that I've seen of the Sallie House on YouTube, they went into the basement. And I'm positive that sign was up there all the time.
Oh, yeah.
I think we both agree that we definitely want to go back to the Sallie House.
Yes.
But I don't want to go back there if we're not going to go in the basement. So a better way to say that is we're going to go back there and we're going to spend a lot of time in the basement.
I think I definitely
for reasons
go
that
there.
We're going to discuss later.
Oh my goodness. I do want to go back there once we've grown and like understand how to like do stuff better, obviously, because I think we'll talk about this here in a second, but like the investigation, like how we went about things and did stuff, there's a reason maybe it went the way it did. But we've even from then have grown in like how we talk and communicate with whatever we could be talking with. And so going back once we're like more seasoned, I think would definitely be good.
And I was a big fan of how the chamber has set up the visit to where you literally have 21 hours in the house. And I really liked what we did because we didn't start investigating until like 8 o'clock maybe.
Yeah, it was
we
later.
got there at 3. We hung out. We went to get dinner at like 5:30, got back at like 6:30 or 7 and then started investigating. I wish we could do that more places because I think we even said in the video, it's like this, if this crap is real, I think it is a good, a sign of, not a sign of respect. It's like a nice, it's a courtesy to go into a place and just like give it time.
Yeah.
Like give it time to get used to you, give us time to get used to the house and all that stuff. To mention the Conjuring House again, Corey talked about, the owner of the Conjuring House talked about how when his family first moved in, they like secluded themselves to like 2 rooms of the house because they wanted the house to get used to the family.
Whoa.
They wanted the house to get used to the family. They kept themselves in 2 rooms and like didn't put any of their like they would go to the other rooms of the house, but they kept all their crap in those rooms. So like it was respectful to the house. And again, if this stuff is real, it was respectful to the many generations of energies that are in the Conjuring House. So I think it's cool. I'm kind of bummed that we only get 4 hours at this place we're going to in a few weeks.
Yeah.
Because like we're gonna have to like, we're gonna have to just get in there and immediately start doing stuff.
Yeah.
And not like just get used to it. I don't know a better way to describe it without repeating myself by saying get used to it again. But I think it's a good showing.
Yeah. Like to investigate something, you have to spend time like learning about whatever you're investigating. And so being like rushed into a 4 or 5 hour investigation, it's really tough to like get to know the place. So then you have to like do a bunch of stuff either before or who knows what. So yeah, it was a good, definitely an excess amount of time, but a good amount of time to just kind of like maybe help the fears kind of like settle a little bit.
Oh yeah.
Even though it's still scary. But yeah, I think that they do that well for sure.
And you ask a lot of personal questions during an investigation.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that we've built a structure that I think is really good. Because like the spirit box, for instance, we don't use the spirit box until like after we've done a few things, because the spirit box is where you can get intelligent responses more than yes or no's.
Mm-hmm.
So like you need to be more knowledgeable about the house and the potential spirits there. You need to be more knowledgeable so you can ask specific questions that get intelligent responses that are more than just yes or no responses. And those questions are very personal. Like, why are you upset? Or that, are you upset that somebody killed you in this house? Like, if you think about it, like, I don't know if I've done this until just now, but like sitting down and thinking about the questions that we have asked, like, are you upset that someone killed you? Why did you kill these people? Like, those are hard questions.
Yeah. Asking that to like an inmate in a prison.
Yeah, exactly.
Like that would be weird.
That you like met immediately and like 2 hours later, you're like, hey, by the way, why'd you kill that person? You know? Like that stuff. It's personal. It's personal.
And that takes time to get to those kinds of questions.
Yeah. So the investigation.
Oh, okay. That wasn't like a okay, but more like a okay. Yeah. I see. Am I having a stroke right now? Do you smell that?
What are you smelling? You smell like burnt toast?
No, I don't smell anything. It was a joke.
I think if you're having a heart attack, you smell burnt toast. I think that's
I was referencing
like
smelling the house.
Oh, look at Carmichael. He's so cute.
He's got some of the cutest little sleepy.
His eyes open too.
Yeah, shut up.
So investigation. Like we walk through with the K2 and
let's talk about some of like the big moments.
Okay.
Okay. I think the first like big thing was the K2 going off upstairs.
On the closet door.
Yeah. So, okay. The closet door is weird. I'm getting goosebumps thinking about this.
I'm not.
Black goosebumps.
I was a Chiefs fan. I'm not.
Oh my gosh. That was funny too. The scariest and weirdest thing about that was when we were like checking out the closet door upstairs in like the master bedroom. And we went into it and there's like no outlets or anything. Then we come back out and we close the door and we go to turn around. And when we turn around, it goes off again.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think I texted you this. It was like something was like just standing there watching us. Like it like left the closet and then we were checking it out and it was just like, what are you doing in my closet? And like we went to leave and it didn't just like jump a little bit. It spiked a lot.
Put up to yellow.
Yeah. And that's why it replayed a couple of times. But I think in the moment, didn't really like pay too much attention to it because just haven't trained myself to think like that.
I think if there's one thing that we've learned through our quote unquote career thus far is that we're really bad at deciphering stuff in the moment.
Oh yeah.
So
I think we've gotten a little better.
We've definitely gotten a lot. Yeah, we've gotten better. You look at him with the little toe beans. He said,
he did.
Yeah, it didn't. Yeah, you're right. It didn't set in. And then even thinking about it now, you said that like something was just watching us. In Sam and Colby's video, the medium that they have walking through the house says that upstairs there's a spirit that's just like, it's just chilling. Like it doesn't have bad energy, doesn't have malevolent intentions. It's just like up there just watching, being like, hey.
I'm glad you watched that video recently because I don't remember much of it. That the freaking 8-ball in that video like is just, I know people are like, oh, it might have been staged or who knows what. Like,
I have a note about that we can talk about later.
We'll talk about it. But
so yeah, the big moments, the K2 going off on a wooden door in the upstairs bedroom.
Yeah, with no, we touched the outlets in there. Like it didn't go off. And then I banged it on the frame a lot.
Man, the K2 is still just one of those things that, like I was saying, in the peak of like our emotions at a place before and after a place, like, we're like, oh my gosh, that's so cool. We know how this device works. It goes off when it detects electromagnetic fields. And it goes off and we're like, oh my gosh, that's super cool. There's nothing electricity-wise around, so something has to be setting this off. And sitting here right now talking about it, I'm like, it's bugged. There's no way it detected electricity on a door that doesn't have any electricity on it. Some wire just got bumped or something happened. Like, that's my mind when we're not like on an adrenaline high from these places. I don't know what that means. I'm not saying, well, I don't know. I don't know because it goes up and down. In 3 weeks when we go to a place and the K2 goes off, I'm going to be like, oh my gosh.
I think it's tough to. I think it's because the devices are involved. It's tough to believe those devices to be like a surefire. Is what I wanted to not say. A 100% accurate representation of there being something there, because they're just faulty devices when you come down to it. Like, the only way that, in my mind, they become valid is when it makes sense. Like when you ask a question and it goes off and it does what you want it to do. And so...
But even still then, in my mind, coincidence just plays a massive part of that stuff. But if the ball that we placed at the top of the stairs moved at any point, I don't think I would have stopped talking about that. Sitting here 10 months later, because that's one of those things where it's like, it's not electricity, it's not a device, it's not human error. It is a ball. It's an object free of anything else that moves.
Got
you know
moved
what I mean?
by the air turning on. I'm just kidding.
The air wasn't on. The heat was on, you dingus.
Sorry. Yeah.
Other big moments. K2.
Oh, shoot.
That was the last time the K2 went off that day. No, it went off on the bed. But only the first screen.
That was later, yeah. But again, that was after we asked a question.
True.
Which, I mean, we were asking a lot of questions, waiting for things to happen. Whatever. Yeah, the K2 going off. I think the REM pod like bleeped by the basement door.
That was weird.
And that was the last time it went off. And we kept turning it on.
Could you go touch that, please?
Yes, and it slows down. No, that's why it's in there, is because it only like went off when we went to grab it, and like when we went and placed it other places, it didn't go off. That's why it's weird. I think that was the next one. I think like, dude, if something happened in that book with the crayons, that would have been really weird, but nothing did happen. There was that moment. We'll talk about that later.
Yeah.
Post stuff. And then I think the next thing is no. Because, yeah, the next thing is the K2 going off on the bed, because then we do the spirit box.
Mm-hmm.
There's the EVP where I fart.
There is.
I don't want to talk about that.
Okay.
Yeah, I ask, like, are we in any kind of danger or something like that? And we'd been asking questions for minutes before and nothing had happened. Yeah. And I don't remember who's holding the camera, but it wasn't on there. It was like kind of checking out the other ones, and it looks over there and it just bleeps.
Yeah, because we had the K2 on the bed, the flashlight on the dresser, and the REM pod in the hallway.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I really like that setup, because that's like, we were able to ask questions like, hey, touch this if this is the answer, touch this if this is the answer. Not that things like that work that way, but like, I like having there be, fail safes. Like, okay, the REM pod's faulty, so the flashlight's gonna work, but okay, the flashlight's faulty. Like, there's backups.
Mm-hmm. Ooh, that LaCroix's kicking me some. And then the spirit box, the open spirit box session. We didn't hear a lot of stuff while we were there.
Or close to nothing.
Yeah,
Live.
There was some stuff we were like,
yeah,
but like, we'll also maybe hit on that later too. But that was a big moment that we didn't really realize in the moment that it was big. But you had also, before that, kind of started to feel bad.
Yeah, and I was just telling you this last night. Like, I don't remember when exactly I was starting to get like a headache, but it was, I don't know, 10 or 11 at night, which was way before a spirit box. We didn't start doing spirit box until like midnight or 1 maybe.
Yeah.
Oh
my God, hi, buddy.
What did you just say to me?
He's like, what did you say? You got a stance right now.
Yeah, I started getting a headache. And again, one of those things going back on it, you're like, well, that could have been lack of sleep, nervousness. I ate a lot of breakfast, like all this stuff. But like in the moment, it's hard to explain, because it was a weird headache. Because like I get caffeine headaches a lot. And they're always right here.
Mm-hmm.
Like right here, and they never move anywhere around there. This headache was like all on the left side of my, that'd have been cool if it were the right side thing. But it was like all right here, like above my ear and like to the side of my face.
Why would the right side? I'm sorry. Why would the right side be?
Because of the
Oh,
spoiler alert.
they know.
Who's they?
Whoever decides to listen to this, and if they've made it this far,
That's a good point. They probably stopped and then went and watched the video and then came back and watched this and they're like, oh yeah.
or they've just stopped because they lost interest. But don't lose interest. This is great.
Keep licking yourself, Carmichael.
So yeah, just like the whole like left side of your face, kind of.
It was just weird. It was like my head hurts. I wonder why. It wasn't constant throughout the entire night, which might even be weirder. It was just like phases of just like crazy pain in my head, and then it'd go away, then come back, then it'd go away, then it'd come back, then it'd go away. So yeah, like throughout the night, I was progressively feeling worse.
Didn't you get like nauseous like near the end there, like
right, yeah, when we were doing the Estes method on the couch, that like I didn't think I was gonna die, but like that's the worst I've felt in a long time without being like actually sick.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't really know if it was nausea, but it was just like something's wrong. Like, you know, like that feeling when you're about to throw up, you're like, oh, something's not right. Like not the feeling before the feeling of you're about to throw up. It's like, oh, my stomach hurts, but it hurts differently. Something's wrong and something's about to happen.
Yeah.
It was like something's wrong. You know what I mean? You know what I mean?
That's interesting.
I don't know what I mean.
That's interesting. No, I don't know if I've told you this, but I could never relate to you on that because I'd never felt. I mean, I've had like just being tired, like feelings at the places we've investigated, but I'd never felt sick or gross until the Wheeler hole.
Really?
Yeah, I think I told you at some point. I was like, yeah, I'm feeling. I might have been like walking down the trail or something, but that was. I'm kind of thinking about it now, feeling a little weird. But that was the only place where I felt like sick, like nauseous, like whoa, like I felt like my tongue was getting kind of weird feeling. So I could never relate to you, but now I feel like I can kind of like, I'm like you feel bad, okay, whatever. But now I'm like, okay, I get what you're saying now. Like it's weird, and it makes you like it. Then that like kind of fuels like your thoughts in your brain too. Where you're like, okay, like I'm feeling weird and like not good. Like why is that? So,
and like I hated it in the moment, and even looking back on it and watching the video, our video, I hate it because how many videos do you watch of people investigating someplace and they're like, man, I have a headache. Almost every single video.
yeah,
And every time I watch those videos, I'm like, yeah, right. You know, I hate being that person that's like, man, I don't feel good. That must be, you know, something trying to latch on to me, which is basically factual. But yeah, especially now looking back on it, I'm like, man, I can't believe I'm another one of those people that are in a haunted place and they're like, oh I have a headache or I'm feeling nauseous or whatever. But I mean, it happened, you know?
I mean, like your feelings and your thoughts are valid.
Right.
Yeah.
It's just one of those things that like, whenever YouTubers say like, oh man, no one's ever going to believe this. Like they obviously think they can think whatever they want about the video or about my headache or whatever. But like, I mean, it was weird.
Yeah.
It was a weird headache. It was a weird feeling later that night. And it was a weird feeling for you at the Wheeler hole. And it was just like, it's so kind of like what we were saying about when we first stepped into the Sallie House. You can kind of describe it and put words on it, but like, it's so different than usual, you know?
Yeah. So you kind of like peak nauseous, peak not feeling good was during the Estes session. That was a weird Estes session.
Very weird.
Like going back and watching it, it was weird to hear some of the responses be kind of aggressive, blatant and aggressive. Can we go? That one was like really spooky. You know what's funny is like the Pickman, like just doesn't really feel like it means anything in comparison to the other responses. Even though like I still like it was two different stations and said Pickman.
Man.
I feel like I'm in the video. Pick man. Like, it said it. I heard it. I said it. And like, it's weird that it said it. And then I kind of think a little bit like, we asked at some point probably, like, do you know the Pickman family? Mm-hmm. And I think we've learned over time that like, we're not always going to get the response we want immediately. It's going to take time. And that could have been a response to that question. It just took some time. But Can We Go was a pretty big one, like going back and watching that was spooky. Like,
because like when we do Estes sessions, when you're the receiver of the Estes session, of the Estes method, we say it how we hear it.
Yeah.
So you said, "Can we go?" because you heard it. You heard it
exactly
as "Can we go?" Crazy, dude.
Spooky.
And like outside of how, I mean, what's the word? Like realistically, outside of how the house was making me feel, how that house was making me feel a certain way. Outside of that, when you said Pickman, I thought I was going to throw up.
Yeah.
I was just like, there's no way. There's no way he heard Pickman. We're in the Sallie House. The Pickman family lived here. Deborah Pickman wrote that book that we read. I was like, dude, there's no shot. Like, I think that's the only thing that would have made me feel that way outside of you saying Sallie. I mean, that would have been weird. You probably would have stopped it. I don't know. I would have.
I don't know. Yeah. That's the thing is, like, I was not feeling the way you were feeling. I mean, I was tired. I think I was more like, we're just cold than anything. But yeah, like, I don't know.
I mean, we had another 9 hours in the house if we wanted.
And I think you were probably going to do an Estes session.
Yeah.
Like,
because that was the only one we did, and that was the first one.
And we were probably going to do the alone thing.
The alone thing, yeah.
I want to point this out. I want to make a statement right now on today's date. My watch isn't working. We planned on spending the last part of our investigation alone from the second Nearly Famous video, which was in April. When was it? You got it on the notes there.
I didn't write the second one down. But it was in April. It was the weekend before the Sallie House. So it was April
yes,
23rd.
It was. Before that, we had planned to sit in silence and then to be alone for the last part of our investigation.
Because we did it the second Nearly Famous video.
Yeah. I just want to put that out there. We did that. We even though we didn't do it.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Even though we didn't do it, that was our idea and we planned on doing it. We just didn't do it. I just want to say we decided to have that idea not based on anybody else, but because we wanted to.
And that's another thing too. Like I feel bad because we haven't done that since the second Nearly Famous video. Like we were going to do it at the Sallie House and that happened. We were going to do it at the Beatty Mansion. We did like 25 minutes of silence.
And it was just not the alone hot.
Thing. Yeah, that was such a different experience.
That house is just rough. That house was scary too. But
we were going to do it at the Wheeler Hole, and then what's a good way to describe this? Like
coyotes, I think was a big thing. I walked away and was by myself for a little bit, but I was so close.
Have you gone back and watched the Estes methods that we've done?
Yes,
you have. Okay,
yeah.
I never felt sick that entire night. We're cold, obviously, but like. It was fine.
Really cold.
Another one of those things where I don't want to sound like everybody else and to copy what I said earlier, but like I've never felt, okay, so like at the Sallie House, I've never felt sick like that before. At the Wheeler Hole, I have never felt angry like that before. I was pissed off.
Mm-hmm.
No idea why.
And nobody knows what we're talking about.
Nobody knows what we're talking about.
But dude. They will.
But like that led to me not wanting to do the half hour alone, half hour in silence thing because I was like, that encounter that I had personally was like this. I knew it. I said it out loud. I said, this is not a good idea.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we ever said that anywhere else. We're just like, let's just not do it. Or I think I'm the one that was like, let's just not do this. But at the Wheeler Hole specifically, I was like, this is not a good idea. We should not do this.
We'll talk about that place eventually.
Estes session, Sallie House.
It ends,
and I feel like
we decide to leave.
Because we went out into the car. We ended the Estes method, and we went out and sat in your car for 45 minutes.
A while. Watched a bunch of drunk college kids walk by.
Yeah, at 2 in the 3. It was 3 in the morning at that point. It was like 2:30.
Oh my gosh, there was that one girl when we were in earlier in the night who walked by and was like, "F the Sallie House."
Oh yeah.
They're like, the lights are on. And I was like, okay. Anyway, I thought that was funny.
Yeah, we went out, sat in the car for a while, had the heat on, and I was just like, I don't remember what I was thinking. I was just like thinking about everything.
Yeah, you were just thinking about how you felt, and like we were just basically just contemplating like continuing.
And like I don't know how much of this we conversed about, but in my mind I was like, man, I really don't want to stay here. And I was like, but man, we have this house for another 7-8 hours. I don't want to leave. This is the freaking Sallie House. And I was like, but man, I feel horrible, and like all like back and forth. For I think I don't know if this is accurate or not, but like I feel like I didn't say anything for a really longest time.
We sat in silence for a bit
without saying. I mean, I think every once in a while I'd be like, I don't know, man. And that was all I would say, and I would say it again 20 minutes later. Man, I don't know.
Well, that's crazy.
That's crazy. That's interesting.
I do remember going back into the house to like wrap up. Like that felt kind of weird.
I felt confident isn't the right word, but like I went upstairs by myself when we went back in. I went upstairs to go check on the crayons and stuff, and like I was. Confident and fine aren't the right words, but I was just like, I'm gonna go upstairs and get the crayons and the coloring book. And you didn't come with me, and I was just upstairs, and I was like, oh. And I came back downstairs. I don't know why I made a decision to go up by myself. It's not a big deal to go up by yourself, but like looking back on it, I don't know why in that state that I was in, I did that.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
I remember, I think we'd filmed the outro, and like I was getting I forgot to get like some B-roll shots whenever it was dark outside.
Yep.
And so I went to go upstairs, and it was like the fastest I'd ever recorded stuff. But I was playing Holy Ground.
Worship music.
I was playing Holy Ground by Passion on my phone, and I was recording these dolls in the rooms and stuff with the lights out. I was spooked. Like I was really scared then, just because I was up there by myself. And
to
scary.
Backtrack, we were listening to the Almost.
Yeah, we were
on the drive up there Saturday morning.
Yes. And I think we were worried about it being in the video.
Yeah, because we recorded that little part that was we were going to have
recording stuff. Anyway, yeah, good music. Thanks for checking out Ghosts Aren't Real. That was part 1 of the Sallie House investigation. Tune in next Monday, November 20th for part 2.